Hi there, and welcome to Creating Digital Content with Virtual Workstations. My name is Dave Murphy, and I'm on the Creative Tools team at AWS. In this session, I'll be demonstrating how to launch a GPU-backed G4 instance on AWS, and then access it using Teradici's PC over IP streaming technology. Virtual Workstations enable you to access additional compute power on demand for the creation of 3D content. They can be used to scale your team with high-performance machines, facilitate remote artists, or for specific tasks that are graphics intensive. With that, let's actually dive in and get started. Here's a diagram of what we'll be creating today. It's pretty simple. On the left is an artist who wants to connect to a virtual workstation to do content creation. On the right, inside AWS, is a single G4 instance. That's our high-powered GPU virtual workstation. It resides in a single availability zone and subnet for the AWS region that you choose. Below that are some of the AWS services that will support what we create, including AWS Identity and Access Management for the creation of users for your account, AWS Cost Explorer to monitor costs and usage, and finally, the AWS Marketplace. We'll be using the Marketplace to access desktop streaming software from Teradici, which is what we'll be using to connect the artist to the virtual workstation in the cloud. I'll be walking you through all the steps needed to launch your own virtual workstation during this session. But for more detailed information, as well as written step-by-step instructions, please see the link to the documentation in the resources section of this session. Here's what the documentation looks like. In particular, before starting on your own, please read through the prerequisites. First, you will find a section that lists the regions that support the services and instance types used in this session. A region represents a specific geographic area where AWS maintains a network and servers. If you're not sure which region is closest to you, the documentation has links to maps showing the locations. Here you can see the map for North America, South America, Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and Asia and the Pacific. The documentation also has links to tools to help you measure the latency or delay from your location to the different regions. Even if your region isn't supported, there may be another nearby region that is. Regions are being updated all the time, so in time your closest region may become supported. Below the information on regions, there's a section about creating an AWS account and adding the necessary permissions needed to launch a virtual workstation with Teradici. If you just created a new account or are the owner of your account, please see the section on creating an IAM user for instructions on how to create a new user and add all the required permissions to it. And if you're using an account provided by your employer, you'll still want to check out the section about permissions so that you can request to have the necessary permissions added. Next, you'll want to look at the section on on-demand G-instance quota and request an increase if needed. I'll talk more about service quotas in a few minutes after we log in to AWS. Finally, beneath the prerequisites is a link to the important information cheat sheet. This is a form that we created to help you keep track of pieces of information that are created in one step, like IDs and IP addresses, that you will need in another step. You can print the form or fill it out in a PDF viewer as you go along and refer back to it as needed. Once you've met all the prerequisites and found the important information cheat sheet, you'll be ready to go. The first thing you'll want to do is sign in to your AWS account. Once you've done that, you'll be in the AWS Management Console. The console is the web interface for setting up and monitoring the Amazon Web Services that you use, including cloud storage, cloud rendering, virtual workstations, and much more. Today, we'll be using the console to prepare and launch your virtual workstation. Before launching your workstation, you'll want to check two things. First, check that your region is set correctly. You can set your region by going to the region pull-down in the upper right-hand corner. You'll want to select the region located closest to you for the best performance. Please refer to the written documentation for more information on choosing a region. I've selected US East 1 in North Virginia as my region because I'm located on the East Coast of the United States. After setting your region, The second thing you'll want to do is to check your service quota for the GPU-based G4 instance type that we'll be using. Many resources in AWS are subject to quotas or limits. The quotas are there to ensure that AWS can provide highly available and reliable service to all our customers, and also to protect you against incurring unexpected charges. If you are using a new AWS account or have never used G instances before, your quota for that type of instance may be at the default value of 0. Before continuing, you should check the value of your service quota. To do that, you can go to the Services drop-down at the top left and search for quota. Or if you're already on the main AWS Management Console page, as we are here, you can just type quota in the search field, and then select Service Quotas. From there, click on Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud, also known as EC2. That's the service we'll be using to launch your virtual workstation. Next, type G instance in the filter by field. Once you've done that, you'll want to look at the applied quota value for running on-demand G instances. As long as your applied quota value is at least 16, you're good to go. If it is less than that, you can request an increase by selecting it and clicking Request Quota Increase. For more detailed instructions on requesting an increase, please see the written documentation. In my case, my applied quota value is 24, so I'm all set. Now we're ready to launch our virtual workstation. To do that, go back to the Services drop-down and under Compute, select EC2. Next, click on Running Instances to go to a list of the virtual computers you have running on AWS. An instance is just another name for a virtual computer running in AWS. Right now we have no running instances, but that will change soon because next we're going to click Launch Instance. That will take us to step 1. Choose an Amazon Machine Image, or AMI. An AMI is a template that contains an operating system and applications needed for your virtual computer. You can select AMIs provided by Amazon, you can create your own custom AMIs, or select one from the AWS Marketplace, which is what we're going to do. The great thing about using an AMI is that because the software and OS are pre-configured for you, it saves you the time of having to install software yourself, which gives you more time for creating. We're going to select an AMI that already has desktop streaming software installed. The desktop streaming software is what will allow you to seamlessly connect your virtual workstation from your home, office, or mobile device, and interact with it just as if it were located right in front of you, while in reality it may be located hundreds of miles away. In our case, we'll be using streaming software from Teradici. The streaming software works by transmitting or streaming pixels from the desktop of the virtual workstation to your local computer, and then sending mouse and keyboard information back the other way. Teradici's PC over IP protocol is an industry standard for desktop streaming and provides for high image quality and fast interaction. Other options for desktop streaming include Nice DCV and Remote Desktop. To access the Teradici software, we'll be using their AMI from the AWS Marketplace. To find that AMI, type Teradici in the search field and hit Enter. Then on the left, click on AWS Marketplace. Here you'll see the different offerings from Teradici. The one we'll be using today is Teradici Cloud Access Software for CentOS 7, but there's also an option for Windows Server if you prefer that. So I'll scroll down to Teradici Cloud Access Software for CentOS 7 and click the Select button. If you get an error here or during any part of launching your instance, please make sure that you added all the necessary permissions to your user. Please refer to the Creating an IAM User section of the written documentation for more information on that. After clicking Select, you'll see a page with more information about the Teradici Marketplace AMI. Here you'll find a list of the hourly fees associated with this AMI for different instance types. It's worth mentioning that AWS services are charged on a pay-as-you-go model. This means that you're only charged for the services you use for the time that you use them. For the virtual workstation that you'll be launching, you'll be charged by the hour for the time that workstation is running. And you'll see the prices broken down by the charge for the software, in this case, a 50-cent per hour charge for Teradici software, plus the hourly charge for the EC2 instance type that the software is running on. Today we'll be using the G4DN 4x large instance type. Please note that the hourly fees for instances vary slightly between regions, so the price you see may differ. To compare the pricing for different regions, or to get information on saving money on Teradici by switching to annual pricing, follow the link to the detail page. Here you can compare pricing between the different regions and see the difference between hourly pricing and annual pricing for Teradici. Once you've reviewed the information on this page, click Continue. Next, in the Filter By pull-down, select GPU Instances. Then scroll down and select the G4DN 4x large instance type. At this point, you have two choices. You can either click Review and Launch to accept the default configuration for your instance, or you can click Next, Configure Instance Details to change the options to suit your needs. For example, if you want to install multiple content creation apps, you might want to change the amount of storage on your instance. For this demo, since we're just installing Blender, the default value of 30 gigabytes of storage will be fine. So we can just click the Review and Launch button to apply the default settings and skip ahead to Step 7, Review Instance Launch. Next, on the Review page, you'll want to double check that you've picked the correct AMI and then click Launch. So I'm all set here. I've got Teradici Cloud Access software for CentOS 7, so I'll click Launch. After that, you'll be asked to select an existing key pair or create a new key pair. A key pair consists of public and private key files that are used to encrypt data between two computers. AWS stores the public key file for you, but you need to store the private key file locally on your own computer. In this case, since we're using Teradici to connect to our virtual workstation, we won't need the private key file because Teradici's PC over IP protocol already encrypts the data for us. However, it's still a good idea to download the private key file just in case you ever need to use something else, such as SSH, to connect to your workstation. To create a new key pair, I'm going to select Create a New Key Pair from the drop-down. Then I'll type in a name for the key pair. I'm going to name mine Virtual Workstation 1. Then I'll click Download Key Pair and save the file locally. Finally, I'll click Launch Instances. Once your instance has started launching, you'll see the launch status page. Then you'll want to scroll to the bottom and click the View Instances button. This will take you to a list of your running instances. Right now, the only instance that you should have running is the virtual workstation that we just started. You'll see that the instance state is listed as running, and the status checks are listed as initializing. In time, this will change to 2 out of 2 checks passed. Once that's happened, your workstation will be all ready to connect to. This process usually takes about 5 to 10 minutes. While you're waiting for your instance to finish initializing, there's a couple other things we can do. Number one, you should look down in the description tab and note both the IPv4 public IP and the instance ID. We'll be using both of these later. You can also enter these items on the important information cheat sheet that we looked at earlier for easy access later. To do that, you can use the copy icon located next to the item and copy and paste it into the cheat sheet. So I'm going to start by copying the instance ID. I'll click the copy icon. I'll go to the important information cheat sheet and cut and paste that into the instance ID field. Then I'll go back and do the same thing for the IPv4 public IP and put that in the cheat sheet as well. The next thing you'll want to do is download the Teradici client software. This is what you'll run on your local laptop, desktop, or mobile device in order to connect to your virtual workstation. To do that, follow the link in the written documentation to go to the Teradici Cloud Access Software webpage. Then scroll down to the PC over IP client section and choose the appropriate client for the operating system of the local computer that you're going to use. Download the software and then install it. Once installed, go back to the list of instances in the AWS Management Console and then wait for the status checks for your instance to change to 2 out of 2 status checks passed. Okay, now I see that my instance status is listed as 2 out of 2 checks passed, so I'm all ready to connect using the Teradici client software. So let me start up the Teradici client. After it starts up, you'll see a window like this. In the host address or code field, you're going to enter the IPv4 public IP of your instance. And if you recall from earlier, we already entered that into the important information cheat sheet. Or if you didn't use the cheat sheet, you can go back to the description tab in the AWS Management Console and copy and paste it from there. In my case, I'm going to copy and paste it from the important information cheat sheet. So I'll grab the IPv4 public IP, go back to Teradici and paste it into the host address or code field, and then click Next. You'll get a pop-up that says cannot verify your connection and prompts you to connect insecurely. This connection is seen as insecure, but because Teradici's PC over IP protocol is inherently secure, your connection is still completely safe, even if you click Connect Insecurely. For more information about Teradici's security, please see the link in the written documentation. So I'll click Connect Insecurely. Next, you'll be asked for a username and password. The default username for the Teradici AMI is CentOS. And the password is the instance ID for your instance. Again, you can go back to the description tab in the list of instances and copy and paste the instance ID from there. Or if you use the cheat sheet, you can copy and paste it from there. So I'll do that, paste it into here, and click Login. After a minute, the client will connect and you'll see the desktop for your virtual workstation. I'm just going to expand this window to fill the entire screen. Now I can interact with this desktop just as if I'm working with the desktop of my local computer. So I can move windows around, I can close them, open menus. As you can see, there's not too much installed on this workstation right now. But next we're going to install Blender to do some content creation. To do that, go to the Applications menu in the upper left-hand corner and find Firefox. Then when the browser opens, go to www.blender.org/download and click the Download Blender button. Please note that the version number you see may be different. When the prompt comes up asking if you want to open with Archive Manager, click OK. When the download is complete, the Archive Manager window will appear and start reading the archive. Next, in the upper left-hand corner, click Extract. Then in the Extract window, click Extract again. When the file is done extracting, you can click Close, and then close the Archive Manager. To launch Blender, open the Home folder from the desktop. Navigate into the Blender folder, and then double-click on the Blender executable. Once Blender opens, you can see that I can interact with it just as if I'm on my home computer. There's very little lag. It's very interactive. And this is on my home internet connection, which is nothing special. So the fact that I can use Blender on this virtual machine and be able to interact with it just as I would with an application running locally is pretty cool. Now, it's not too interesting to just be staring at a cube. So to have something a little bit more fun to look at, I'm going to go back to the Blender webpage, click on Download, and then click on Demo Files. Then I'll scroll down to the EV section, and I'll see a number of different demo files that I can download. I happen to like the Mr. Elephant demo file by Glenn Mellenhorst. So I'm going to click on that, and then save the file. Once it's finished downloading, I'll go back to Blender, go to File, Open, I don't need to save, click on the Downloads folder, select Mr. Elephant, and click Open. Now I'll just give it a minute to load. As the file continues to load, I can tumble around and navigate in it. I can select things, and move them around. Now that it's finished loading, you'll see I have a fully textured and lit scene that's highly interactive. It's so responsive that it's actually easy to forget that I'm using a computer that's located miles away, instead of one that's located right at my desk. For me personally, I wouldn't be able to work on a scene as detailed as this if I couldn't access this high-powered workstation remotely. I don't have access to the latest hardware or even a GPU at home. This same scene, when loaded in Blender on my laptop, is extremely slow, so much so that I can never do any work. It's only because I'm able to connect to this virtual workstation that I can do work that I otherwise wouldn't be able to do, which is really a game changer for me. This is just one example of the type of content that you can create using Blender and a virtual workstation running on AWS. The possibilities are endless. At this point, I can continue using this virtual workstation and Blender to complete my creative work, just as I would my local computer. There are no time limits. It's mine for as long as I need it. When you're done using your virtual workstation, we recommend either stopping or terminating it to keep your costs down as much as possible. To do that, first disconnect your Teradici session by going to the Connection menu and selecting Disconnect. Then, back in the AWS Management Console, go to your list of instances if you're not already there. Then, with your instance selected, go to Actions, Instance State, and select either Stop or Terminate. Stopping an instance is similar to shutting down your home or work computer. All running applications on it will quit, but whatever data was stored on persistent storage, so the hard drive, is preserved. Once an instance is stopped, you are no longer charged for any hourly fees for its use, although you are charged a small amount to store the data that was on the instance's hard drive. A stopped instance will remain in the instance list in the AWS Management Console and can be restarted at any time. Terminating an instance is more final than stopping it. When an instance is terminated, it is also stopped, but the difference is that all the data in persistent storage on the workstation's hard drive is deleted. So not only do you not incur any more hourly fees for running the instance, you also don't incur any fees to store the data that was on the hard drive. A terminated instance cannot be restarted. You'll see terminated instances in the instance list for about an hour, but after that they will disappear. And if you want to launch a new instance, you'll have to start over from scratch using the directions I showed earlier. In my case, since I don't need this instance or anything on this hard drive anymore, I'm going to select Terminate. Then I'm going to double check that this is the correct instance that I'm going to terminate, which it is. So I'll click Yes, Terminate. Now, if I refresh the list of instances, I'll see that the instance state has changed to shutting down. Alright, that's it for this session. I hope you've enjoyed learning how to launch your own virtual workstation on AWS. This session covers just one example of how you can leverage the power of AWS to meet your content creation needs. If you're interested in exploring more ways to move your production to the cloud, work remotely, and improve collaboration, additional resources are available. You'll also find tutorials on setting up other kinds of virtual workstations, as well as cloud storage and cloud rendering. Please visit awsthinkbox.com for more information. Thanks for watching.